everybody. So we're going to Vietnam together.
Welcome to our virtual tour of Hoi An, Vietnam. My name is Michelle, if we haven't met.
I'm Jed.
And we are your guides for today. Hoi An is one of our favorite places in the whole world. It's probably the place we're thinking about going back to the most right now. And we're just excited to share it with you. So in just a minute, we will fill you in a bit more about who we are if you don't already know, what the rest of this tour experience will entail. But first, we think the best immersion experiences start by diving right in. So we are going to start with a quick video, and this is actually from a much larger city than Hoi An, but it will give you a sense of our first day in the country, and we wanted you to experience it for yourself.
Hey, what are we doing right now? We're gonna cross this street. Wait, this one right here. Is there any crosswalk? Oh my gosh. All right, let's do this.
We walk this way.
Okay. Holy cow. Wow. Oh my gosh. Major, my mother would not approve of this. Holy shit. Oh my freaking gosh. Holy cow. I'm pretty sure I just peed my pants a little bit. I guess so. Oh my gosh. Okay. 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 Yep. 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 Keep going up. Okay. Okay. Oh my God!
Welcome to Vietnam, everyone. How did that feel to you? Feel free to share your reaction in the chat if you're watching live right now, and we'll come back to that in a moment, but we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. First, so this is us in Hoi An. If you don't know us, we started our careers in higher education, student life. We decided to take a sabbatical, and we served for 2 years as Peace Corps volunteers in rural Jamaica. During that time, we discovered the worlds of travel hacking and remote work, which of course now is booming, but this was about 5 years ago. So once we completed our service, that was 2014, we began a freelance business online, and we launched our travel blog, Intentional Travelers. And now we work from different places around the world, one of those being Hoi An. To be honest, traveling to Vietnam was really intimidating to us at first. We had stuck to Spanish-speaking and French-speaking places where we felt more comfortable with the language. But then our friends took a 5-year assignment working with a nonprofit in Vietnam, and we jumped at the chance to have them show us around. We just fell in love with Vietnam. We actually returned to Vietnam 4 years in a row since then. It was on our second visit that we ventured to Hoi An by ourselves, and we just couldn't get enough of it. First, we stayed for 2 weeks, then 6 weeks, and then we came back for 3 months.
Yeah, so we really like it a lot.
Now, I want you to think back to that video. I hear some people, or read, people are saying frightening, terrifying, jaw drop. Crazy as India and Thailand. It reminds me of crossing the street in Thailand. Yeah, so if you've been to other places in Southeast Asia, that might be a little familiar to you. Crossing the street, it seems like such a simple thing. It's actually a great example of how different Southeast Asia can be, especially for those of us coming from Western cultures. It can feel really intimidating and foreign. But we found that having our friends there made a huge difference. So you saw in that video, Major, the other white man,
The other guy.
he had been living there, so he knew the culture, and he and his wife oriented us to the customs, how to get around. So even though we had done a fair amount of travel before, I don't know if we would have been comfortable showing up in Vietnam without their help. We certainly would not have crossed those big streets without their guidance. I can just see us sitting there on the sidewalk, just waiting for the right time, and it would never come.
Right.
But now we know how that works. We trust it. We know that there's actually rules and calm behind the chaos.
Yeah. So after those experiences, we decided we wanted to be that friend on the ground for other travelers.
So we started hosting 1 week guided small group immersions in Hoi An. Our trips are essentially a cultural introduction. Our main goal is helping first-time visitors become empowered to travel confidently in Vietnam and Southeast Asia. Again, that video you saw was from Hanoi, which is a much larger Vietnamese city than Hoi An. But the rules of the road are the same, and crossing the street has actually become a key lesson when we take our trip participants through orientation. Now, Jen and I are not scholars or experts on Vietnam. That is not what we're claiming to be.
No, but we have made a lot of great friends in Hoi An, and some of them who are tour guides, homestay hosts, etc. And so what we do is we facilitate that connection and let local people speak for themselves. These are some photos of the things we do on our tour with our Vietnamese friends and tour participants. So this is a picture of us cooking with our host sister, and we'll talk about her and her family in a little bit. And then this is a photo of our tour participants getting measurements for clothes, custom clothes to be made.
By the way, some of these photos are taken by our tour participants, so we want to give credit to them. Ben, Connie, Chris, Mark, maybe Jason's pictures are in here.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So now let's talk about Hoi An. It's hard to boil down a full week of experiences, so today's virtual tour is really meant to be a sampling. And by the way, those of you that are here with us live, we'd love for you to think of questions and write them in the chat as we go along. So we'll probably answer most of those questions at the end, but don't hesitate when we're talking. If something interests you, something pops into your head, if you're here live, we'd love to hear from you. So just write it in the chat and we'll be able to scroll back to that at the end. So here is where we are headed. If you're like me, maps help me get my bearing.
So Vietnam is located in Southeast Asia. It borders along Laos, Thailand, and Cambodia, and it's the country you see in red. Hoi An itself is located in central Vietnam. So this is taking the next image, and you can see just Vietnam here. Hanoi is the main capital. Ho Chi Minh City is the other major city in the south, and Da Nang is in the central. That's the airport that's closest by, and so Hoi An is just a 45-minute drive away from Da Nang, again, the third largest city in Vietnam. The city of Hoi An is actually pretty spread out. It reaches all the way to the beach, and the Tu Ban River runs right past Old Town and meets the sea. So you can see the purple star there. That's where Hoi An is.
Here you can see the green rice fields that surround the town. I love that it doesn't feel like a big city. There are no high-rise buildings here, and you are always just a minute away from nature. Old Town, or Ancient Town as it's called, is designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You can see that blocked off in gold in this map, and the yellow star towards the top is where we usually stay. So just outside of the UNESCO district. So why is Ancient Town significant? Well, in the 18th century, Hoi An was considered by the Chinese and Japanese merchants to be the best destination for trading in all of Asia. So it was a really important trading port that connected Asia to the rest of the world. And that historic port district is still extremely well preserved. It reflects a blend of global influences from all the traders.
Now you know you're in Ancient Town because the walls are all painted this rich gold or blue. Here you see someone has left out vegetables to dry on their porch, which is a pretty common sight when you walk around town. Here's Michelle in front of a beautiful painted blue house. We got another photo of the town.
And whenever we have the chance, we walk through the back alleys of Hoi An instead of the main streets. And it's not too many places where we recommend walking down alleys. But here in Ancient Town, it's perfectly safe, gets you away from the crowds, and it gives you a glimpse into everyday Vietnamese life because their living rooms are just right open to the alleyways. There are a number of temples hidden throughout ancient town. And as tourism grows, over the last decade especially, there are more and more shops and cafes in this area.
Now, Ancient Town is right on the Tubon River, and you can see fishing boats at work as well as boats available for river tours. But this area really transforms at night.
Yes. Hoi An is also famous for its lanterns. And I wanted to show you one up close, so I think we'll pause the screen share for a second. So this is, we actually made this very proud, of course, with help from an expert, because we could not have done this by ourselves. It's outlined with bamboo, which is flexible, and then covered with silk that's made in town. And I thought when I first saw them, like, oh no, we won't be able to bring them home in our suitcase, but actually it's very flexible and just packs up like that. So those are things that you will see all over Hoi An, very iconic. In its heyday as a trading port, silk had become one of Hoi An's top commodities, and Chinese lanterns had become very popular as a way to light up and decorate. Can you do that for me? Locals began to hang more lanterns out in hopes of bringing good luck and coziness to the town. So, Lantern Festival.
Ooh, sorry.
Went a little too fast there.
My fault. Now, every month corresponding to the lunar calendar, Hoi An celebrates a lantern festival. So locals use this time to honor ancestors, but as you can imagine, it's become really popular with tourists, and Ancient Town at night is really magical. All right, so let's head on and visit some of the markets. So one of Hoi An's largest markets is right in the heart of Ancient Town. This is one of the things we love about Hoi An, because even though there's a lot of tourism, it's right alongside everyday Vietnamese life. So visiting the market is a great way to experience local culture.
You have to watch out as you walk through the market. As you can see, bicycles and motorbikes are right there with the pedestrian shoppers. So talking about markets, we take our tour participants through this market during their orientation on the first day. And we actually tell them to put their cameras away and just walk through silently, just observing, taking in all the sights, sounds, and smells. Does anyone recognize this fruit?
Here, let's give it like 2 seconds. If you know this fruit, write it down in the chat. I bet there's a couple of you who know.
We have seen it, I think, in Vancouver, BC.
Nice, Liz.
It was exported. Yeah, mangosteen. So it's one of our favorites in Southeast Asia. Has a stiff rind, but if you press on the stem at the top, it will kind of split open and you can pull it apart. Inside are these white fleshy pods that are sweet and tangy.
It's so good.
It's hard to describe a fruit, but
yeah.
If you ever see it, do recommend that you try it.
Also in the market, you'll find a lot of street vendors, lots of stores selling all kinds of goods. This is one of my favorite picks because if you just look at how many goods there are, if you can see the lady, that's awesome. And then even if you walk down streets, you'll see lots of vendors selling different items. And then one of my favorite things is the shops that appear during the day and then they kind of go away at night, or not away at night, but they go away daily. So this is a makeshift toy store that's at night. It's pretty fun.
Next, we want to introduce you to our favorite homestay family. We have stayed with them every time that we're in Hoi An, and many small businesses are run out of people's homes in Vietnam. So homestays are very common across the country. And I thought it was interesting that the term homestay in Vietnam, it specifically refers to accommodations with 5 rooms or less. So some are run by the family who owns the homestay, but others employ staff just like a small hotel. Mr. T here and his wife V are the owners of Leaf Homestay. They live on the first level of their home. In 2014, they remodeled the house with guest rooms on the 2nd and the 3rd floors.
Their extended families all live in the villages nearby. And here's a picture of Mr. T sharing his ancestral home with our tour participants. Again, when you stay in a homestay with a local family, it's like insider access to local culture. They've taught us about Vietnamese cooking, about the language. They've taken us to see their villages where their relatives are, and brought us to family gatherings. So it's a really special connection to make instead of just kind of going to a hotel and not being able to know anybody.
Yeah. Next is Tao. She is Miss V's sister. She essentially runs the bed and breakfast at Leaf Homestay, and she's also a seamstress. She surprised us once with these handmade matching cargo shorts, so you can see that we're wearing. She just decided to make them for us. Breakfast is included with your stay at a homestay. You can choose like a baguette and egg, or pho noodle soup, so Western or Vietnamese often is available, and it comes with fresh mango, coffee, tea, or juice. Now, Mr. T, he works for the city government in agriculture, and his wife is a nurse. So we were wondering when we first arrived, why would they choose to open a homestay? And so we asked Mr. T, and he said, to make friends around the world. So they are just passionate about cultural exchange. They can't necessarily travel outside their country that much, so they get to welcome guests and have that global experience. And here he's teaching our tour participants how to count in Vietnamese while we eat a family-style dinner. And even though it is a homestay, you have your privacy as well. So they have 5 bed and bath suites that are essentially just like a hotel room. So you have the comforts of a traditional hotel, but with a stronger connection to the local people. And I did see in the chat, someone asked if they have safes in the room. I actually don't recall if Leaf Homestay does, but I know others definitely do.
Yeah, some of the homestays do and some don't.
Yeah. And just to give you an idea, the nightly rate here is about $18, which includes breakfast, internet, use of their bicycles, the connection to locals.
Right, and that cost is per room, not per person. So
right.
it's pretty amazing.
And we just wanted to show you what other accommodations look like in Hoi An. These were different hotels and homestays that we scouted for our tours.
So it is a really wide range of different varieties, from, you know, a simple hotel room to something that maybe looks really, really fancy.
But definitely comfortable.
Definitely comfortable. So moving on, what is there to see and do outside of Ancient Town? Well, there's actually a lot.
We love biking through the rice paddies that surround Hoi An. I mean, we could do that every day. It's just beautiful. It's so easy because it's very flat.
Yeah, and just so you know, I don't recommend you taking a photo like this. Don't do this at home. One of the things that we love to do is you can even bike to Ang Bang Beach, which is about a 10-minute ride. So you go through the rice paddies and then head towards the beach. We like to order a drink at the beachside restaurant and also get some seafood. And you can spend as long as you like on their beach chairs. So there's a bunch of restaurant and sort of places to like sit and relax on the beach.
About 20 minutes drive, this is between Hoi An and Da Nang, are the 5 Marble Mountains. It's really hard to describe, but they are an intriguing karst rock formation with hidden caverns and temples inside. And this is the view from the top of one of the main Marble Mountains.
Yeah, it's a really amazing area. We highly recommend taking a motorbike tour to visit nearby villages. And this is our friend Fu, which, fun fact, he and I share the same birthday, which is cool. He's a motorbike guide who focuses on back roads and knows all the best places you won't see with other tourists.
So you'll hop on the back of a bike with Fu or one of his friends, and all you have to worry about is taking in the scenery and snapping pictures. The motorbike day was really a highlight for our tour participants and us. We've done several with him, and motorbikes are a huge part of Vietnamese culture, so it's a great experience to try if you can. These are some of the things you can see on one of Fu's rides: a stop at a waterfall, a visit to a village that weaves sleeping mats. These mats are what they use instead of mattresses.
Yeah, if you look in the back of that photo, you can actually see one of the mats on a bed. That's their mattress.
It's cooler than the mattress we use. Fu also took our tour group to the Mai Son Ancient Temple Ruins. This is another World Heritage Site, UNESCO site that's nearby. So, plenty of day tours.
There's really something for everyone to do in Hoi An. Other options for your free time could be handicraft or cooking classes, like making the lantern we talked about. You can get an affordable massage or spa treatment, have custom tailored clothing made. There's lots of shopping, boat rides, you name it. We even had some avid birders on our last tour group, and they asked if we could help them. And so we found them a half-day birding tour nearby. So lots of different ways to see things. Well, let's talk about food.
Yum.
One of my favorite things. So most meals are served family style, and that's sort of a traditional way to serve like at home. The different dishes are served in smaller dishes, so everyone around the table has access to them. And it's also pretty to look at. So this is a meal we had with our host family. And again, another example of the smaller dishes you might see. Similar to the US, there are a lot of special,
seafood.
Sorry, seafood, yes. So Vietnam has a huge coastline, as you saw, that goes north to south. And so seafood is pretty common and important, not just in central Vietnam, but all over in Vietnam. Now let's talk about some regional dishes. So similar to the US, there are some special dishes that come from certain parts of the country. And here are some examples of dishes you can find basically in this region, well, only in this region. So mi Wang is a dish made of noodles found in this area. Our host sister Tao makes the best bowl, and it's something that we often eat at breakfast. Bain Seao is a coconut turmeric pancake. So that's the yellow folded thing over there that you cut up and then you make rolls with using the rice paper and fresh herbs. And then you dip it into a sauce. And we really like Bain Seao as well.
Yeah. Finally, two of our personal favorite dishes. This one is Jed's Kung Ga, which literally translates to rice chicken or chicken rice. That's on the left. It's served with papaya salad, vermicelli noodles with fish sauce, spring rolls. That would be one of mine. It has different names throughout Vietnam, but I like this version in Hoi An.
The food is really good.
Yeah. Now, as we start to wrap up, let's dive into Vietnam's unique coffee culture. Most people don't realize how big coffee is in Vietnam. Not only do they grow their own coffee beans, there are coffee shops everywhere. And some of them are pretty cool. So just to give you an idea, you can see there's a range here from really hip, trendy places you could go work on your laptop, to super simple. Here's one set up on a street, and they set out those chairs each day for people to hang out, buy a drink, just pack it all up at night and start over the next day. And this is the typical Vietnamese coffee, which you can get anywhere and everywhere. And we wanted to do a quick demonstration of this. We have our own version here.
Yeah, so let's check out how this works real fast. So typically you have sweetened condensed milk on the bottom. So that's on the bottom glass there.
It's creamer right now, but normally that would be sweetened condensed milk.
If your menu says coffee with milk, then that's usually what they mean. And then this is where the coffee grounds go. So they go in this container there.
You can kind of see.
And then there's a top filter that you put on the top. And then with the magic of hot water, you just pour the hot water on top, and then you'll see that the grounds slowly drip.
So it's kind of an experience to sit here and wait for your coffee to brew in front of you. They usually do it in a glass like this so you can see and watch.
It's usually a lot darker.
Yeah, I didn't put very much coffee in there.
I was wondering, I was like, what happened?
Yeah, it's usually brewed very strongly.
And it drips very slowly, which is, it's one of those things that's just very interesting to watch as it drips down. Oh, that was magic. I was like, how did that happen?
Yeah, that was faster than normal. So where Italian coffee is all about espresso, macchiato, those kind of things, American coffee is like drip coffee or big lattes and big cups. So you probably won't find those in a true Vietnamese cafe. Not that you can't find them in specialty kind of Western shops, but this is Vietnamese coffee. It's very strong, usually served in small portions.
Very sweet too.
We wanted to share with you two other coffee specialties that are pretty unique to Vietnam, and I think very delicious. I actually wasn't a huge coffee person before, but egg coffee. This is whipped with, you can guess, egg and sweetened condensed milk. So it's very creamy, frothy, small, usually small portions again. This originated in the capital of Hanoi. And I noticed 2 years ago, we started seeing it advertised more and more in Hoi An as well. This is why it pays to have friends in the places you travel, because we would have never found this one on the menu if our friends hadn't told us. This is coconut ice cream with hot coffee poured over it.
So good. In fact, I mean, I want one right now.
It's very refreshing on a hot day. And finally, you might be surprised when you're served complimentary tea alongside your coffee order. So tea is another important drink of Vietnamese culture. And when someone visits your house in Vietnam, Vietnamese hospitality usually includes welcoming guests with a cup of tea, maybe some snacks. So many of the local cafes carry on this practice as a sign of hospitality to their customers. So cheers.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on this really quick whirlwind. I mean, it's not the same as being there. It's never going to be the same as being there. But we hope that you had a good time.
Yeah, so next we'll take some questions, keep them coming. I know we can scroll back. I saw a couple already. And then we'd love to stay connected. This is where you can find us. I think most of you probably know that, but intentionaltravelers.com. Okay, somebody asked, and we already answered, do they do egg coffee in Hoi An? Yay, yes. And that is a recent addition, because I think did not originate there. They do it in Vienna, Austria too. Interesting. I know someone, okay, can I get liposuction in Hoi An?
Ooh, that is a great question. I don't know, but I would bet that in Da Nang, it's probably possible.
I bet you can.
Da Nang is a huge city. So Da Nang is, again, the third largest city. It's very tech oriented. It looks and feels like a major city. So being so close by, you know, we actually got dental cleaning done in Da Nang when we went to visit recently. So that would be the place for that.
How would one find a homestay if not on a tour? Good question, Donna. Homestays are really ubiquitous actually in Vietnam. And so if you are even on Airbnb, you will see most of them titled homestay. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that the hosts are going to be the family who owns the building. So that's when you just want to look further into the description, and you can usually tell. Mr. T had put in his Airbnb description, which is how we found him, a lot about that cross-cultural exchange. And so that's what drew us to their place. So you'll get different levels of that.
Somebody asked, is it safe, especially for single visitors, female?
Yes. I mean, 100%. We have seen quite a few single solo females come through, Leaf Homestay especially, but I've never heard of someone fear walking at night even, anywhere in town. Violent crime, I guess, is pretty much unheard of. Stealing is pretty much unheard of. Obviously, whenever you travel, you want to be careful about your valuables, and not, have things out and about. But other than that kind of basic common sense, it feels very, very safe.
It's really strange because you think like in like being a major city or a tourist area, you would sort of at first feel like, yeah, is it unsafe or not? And I remember one of the conversations we had with our host family, every year in Hoi An, they have a festival, a New Year's festival, and they have these like amazing flower market. And it's just flowers like that line up the streets. I mean, like so many streets, right? They just have tons of inventory. And I asked them, like, so do they take it down every night? Do they set it up every day? And our host family was kind of laughing. They were like, no, we just leave it there. And they just
out in public overnight.
Just trust that no one's going to steal. And it's just not a culture where that is something they have to be concerned about. So that was really eye-opening to hear. I mean, I was like, that's kind of unheard of. So
How easy is it to eat if you have allergies? This will depend. Sesame seeds, our friend who lived in Hanoi was allergic to sesame seeds. Obviously, she also spoke Vietnamese. But what most people do when they have a food allergy or intolerance is they put the words in Vietnamese on their phone, so you can just show that to somebody. You can bring it up in Google Translate. Hoi An is especially good because they see so many tourists. They are a little bit more sensitive to that than other places in Vietnam. It's not 100%. If you can't be like, within a few feet of whatever you're allergic to, I would be a little more worried. But
Yeah. I'd say, the common ones, like if you are gluten-free, it's pretty easy to eat gluten-free. If you are vegan, there's lots of vegan options, I think, for that. Um, and so, yeah, I think Michelle's tip on just having it put on your phone, or even if you can have a friend who speaks Vietnamese or a way that you can get something translated before you travel, I think that's always a good tip too. So that way it's in a local language, and you can say like, oh, here are the things that I cannot eat. So, yeah.
Someone asked about mosquitoes. Yes, there are mosquitoes. I would not say that there are a lot of mosquitoes, but we wear bug spray.
Well, I would also say that it depends on like the time of the year that you go. So we try to avoid like the monsoon seasons. And so, with rain comes mosquitoes. So we like to go when there's not as much rain, or like the end of those seasons, because, obviously we don't want to be caught in too much rain.
Well, we did go in October. It was fine.
Yeah. And I would say sometimes too, it's one of those things where there can be mosquitoes around and Michelle doesn't get bit and I will get 10 or 20. So why that happens, I don't know. I don't know if anybody else feels that way.
Anyways, are we planning any travel in 2020? I'm not sure if that's in general or to Hoi An. We were hoping to go to Hoi An in January through April of 2021. Things are obviously changing a little bit. We are still hoping to go, and actually I think it's one of the best places to go in the near future because they have done an amazing job containing the coronavirus. They had very few cases, as far as I know, or last I checked, no deaths. And their restaurants, I believe, are back open already because they were able to do that. The main issue is if we as Americans will be allowed in the country. So that will be yet to be seen. And hopefully, I'm hoping that that's where we can go. The beach to visit, do you just have to purchase, why can't I see that, food at the restaurant to use the loungers? Yes, you could just get a drink. You could stay there all day after, way after you're done with your smoothie.
But it is expected that you do make a purchase though.
There are some public parts of the beach as well, but they just don't have the nice chairs and umbrellas. Someone who doesn't eat meat, eggs, and seafood. Yes, you can get by as a vegan or vegetarian.
Actually, one of our favorite restaurants just opened up recently last year called New Eatery, NU Eatery. You can find them on Instagram. But they do a lot of amazing vegan food that, it's so good.
And part of their New Year celebration as Vietnamese is they eat vegan on specific days. So we've had family meals that were meat-free, so they definitely know how to do that. Going for the coffee and food, yes, good choice. How much of the rest of Vietnam have we seen? We've seen mostly the north and central, so we have not been to the south yet. We've spent maybe almost a month in Hanoi by now, and some day trips from there. Some really great places to see, which we've covered on our blog if you're curious. Taken the train from Hanoi down to Hoi An, which is an overnight journey. Definitely an experience. So hopefully we can continue to see more in the near future.
How was the internet speed? So that's always important for us because when we work, or when we travel, I should say, we need to do work. And so we always think about the internet speed. when we first went to Hoi An 3 years ago, I think we were a little like nervous about how fast it was and how strong the connection was, and could we do, Zoom calls. But that has gotten better over the years. And so I would say, I mean, it's not nearly as strong or as fast as you would find in the States, but I would say that it's on par, if not better than what I find in Europe, which,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's better than Italy.
Yeah, not to knock Italy or anything, but it's just that we've been able to do Zoom calls and do the work that we need to, yeah,
Okay.
anywhere we've gone.
We got a lot more questions, so let's get through them. Ooh. What time of year is the best to visit regarding the weather? We always host our tours in the best time of year because of the weather, which is January, February, March. It starts getting hotter and hotter as you get toward the summer. So the summer is actually a high tourist season, even though it is so hot. But we like to go. The rainy season is kind of in the fall. You do get some monsoons, so you just have to be ready to don your poncho ASAP.
It's a fun experience.
But it is kind of fun. It's not bad to be there during the rainy season. But yeah, it starts to clear up. So January, February is really ideal. I would say, weather is around the 80 degrees, maybe 75.
I would say that after mid-February through March, April is probably the best time. And then if you want to risk going in the fall, like Michelle was saying, because it's starting to get cooler and then the rainy season is starting to end, it's kind of a risky time, October, November. Like you don't really know, it could be rainy.
And that's different. Yeah. Obviously, north to south is so far. So Hanoi gets quite cold in the winter and even hotter in the summer. So different regions are a little bit different. We're just talking about Hoi An.
Yeah, we know nothing about the south. Like we totally admit that.
How much time do we recommend in Hoi An? So our first trip was 10 days. It was awesome. When we stay at Leaf Homestay, a lot of times people are there for 1 or 2 nights, and almost every time they're like, we wish we had stayed at least twice as long. And some of them do. If they have a flexible schedule, they will extend it. So if you only go to one place, I would tell you to go to Hoi An. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think you could spend a great week there and not see anything else and feel like you had an amazing trip in Vietnam. But if you were really trying to see as much as possible, I would say at least 3 days, 3 nights.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that.
Yeah. How much is it to rent a furnished apartment? So this varies. There actually aren't a ton of apartments, but there are a lot of rooms where you could have the homestay cook for you, or you could rent a whole house. And so that would range from, let's see, our homestay with the breakfast they charge us $350 for the month. And you could get something fancy, a whole nice house for probably $1,500 a month. US.
Yeah. Have we eaten durian? I don't think we have. I mean, we've seen it.
So durian is a very stinky fruit, and it is for sale in Hoi An, definitely.
Yeah, we've just never been able to really try it, or I guess we haven't had the courage to try it. Let's just be honest, we haven't had the courage to try it.
Do you fly straight to Hanoi? What is another hub?
Yeah, so the best way to get to Hoi An is to fly to Da Nang Airport. That airport keeps getting bigger and bigger. So there's a lot of connections to other, I was going to say other major destinations in Asia. So there's the direct flights, I think from the US to Vietnam are either going to go to Hanoi or to Ho Chi Minh, Saigon. So I don't know if there's an actual direct flight yet to Da Nang. So most of the times that we've flown to get to Da Nang and then drive down to Hoi An, we have come from South Korea, Japan, and Thailand. Those have been sort of the bigger hubs that we've used to get to Da Nang. Yeah.
You could also fly into Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City and take the train or an overnight bus. That would add another day of travel.
But we suggest the Da Nang airport though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Kimberly is asking some details about our tour and if you need a visa. You do need a visa, especially US citizens. So you apply for that either by sending in your passport to the consulate here in the States, or you can get an online, what's it called? E-visa, I believe, so that you do part of the process and pay part of it beforehand. And then when you show up at customs, you just do kind of one little extra step before you go through customs to get your visa and your passport.
And we'll be watching the visa process because with coronavirus, we're not really sure what the restrictions are, how things are going to change, what the process would be like. So
yeah. So in terms of our tour, we have an early bird price that starts at $14.99. We will have to release new dates for when that will actually come into effect as soon as we know that we're able to host tours again. So that is flights not included, but it includes your 1 week stay, accommodations, most of your food. There are a few meals on your own, but again, those are like, $2, sometimes really $6 if you want to be fancy. And
transportation to and from the airport, all the transportation and most of the transportation for the activities.
All of our local guides. So yeah, that covers everything. We also do custom tours, so we can kind of customize what we already do for the small groups of 6 people. If you want to bring your own group, or you just want, you and a spouse, we can set that up for you. If you have special interests, we can customize it for you as well. If you want, to stay in the fanciest places and get a massage every day, like, we can make that happen.
I love that. That's
customized.
Your fancy is like massage every day. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My fancy is like really nice food every day.
All those things.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Massages are about $12 for an hour. So.
I mean, you could get probably a $5 for an hour, but I wouldn't trust some of those places.
Yeah. Great. Well, if there's no more questions, we just want to say thank you for being here. Feel free to share this. We will send out the recording, and so you are welcome to share that link with other folks that you might think are interested. And there's also a Hoi An or Vietnam interest list. So if you are curious about when our future tours become available, the best way is to just be on that interest list. So we'll include that in the email that goes out tomorrow. Yeah, we'd love to stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Thanks for traveling virtually with us, everybody.
Good to see everybody.